as more and more people start talking about it, there's a lot more questions that are raised, and especially for young people, they're like, wait, I thought this issue from the past, what is this new information? And so it seemed like the right time for me to just be like, hi, my name is Cecil, I'm HIV positive, it's no big deal.
Hello, my name is Jackson Bird, and welcome to my LGBT History Month Queerstory series. Today I'm joined by Cecil Baldwin, an incredible actor who you may know as the voice of Welcome to Night Vale. Cecil, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks so much.
Before we get started, we just wanted to say that everything we're going to be talking about today, we are not experts. We're talking from our own perspectives, experiences, things that we have learned, but we're also not medical providers, so definitely, we'll put some resources down in the bottom so you can go and further your education. Today, we just kind of want to talk about, Cecil's experiences, really. First, how do you identify?
I identify as cisgender gay male.
So, you recently came out publicly as HIV positive. Why did you decide to go public now?
It was a long time coming for me. I mean, I've been HIV positive for about 10 years now.
Okay.
There was a part of me that thought, well, this is my medical history. Nobody needs to know about this.
Absolutely.
Outside of, my close circle of friends and, and family. But the more I kept reading about advances in medical technology and the more HIV awareness has kind of come into the public eye because of it, I realized that there was a lack of normal people talking about HIV. I think it was the Charlie Sheen interview where he was like outed. He was doing his crazy Charlie Sheen thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this doesn't reflect my experience at all.
Charlie Sheen is not who you want as the face of anything you're associated with.
Yeah, and it had been a while since you had kind of heard about anybody talking about their HIV status, since the 90s.
Yeah.
So I figured, what better way to kind of talk to an audience out there on the internet saying, hey, there are people out there who are HIV positive, maybe someone you know, maybe someone that you're a fan of. We're not necessarily role models. Please do not emulate any of my behavior. But we're out there and we're making it happen and we're living, pretty full, productive lives. And there are other people out there who understand what you're going through.
The AIDS epidemic was a huge part of our community's recent history. But I often feel like, my generation and below, we don't really think about it that much.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, we know how to be safe and get tested. It can be so easy to forget how much the older generation went through and how much they fought for the lives that we enjoy today.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely fall into that mid-generation, that sort of pre-internet, post-internet generation. I remember Princess Diana, actually went out and interacted and touched somebody who was who had AIDS. That was a huge watershed moment in world history. And then, I kind of came up and grew up and, kind of, like you said, knew to get tested and, what safe sex was even. And a lot of the myths of what AIDS was were starting to be dispelled, with the internet, more and more information got out there. Once the general population started to know more about what AIDS and HIV was, I think a lot of focus shifted onto other things.
It did. One thing that I've noticed a lot is funding shifted.
Yeah.
So for example, the clinic that I go to here in the city, they get a lot of funding now for trans healthcare.
Yeah.
They originally started as an AIDS clinic.
Yeah.
They had to shift their focus to get funding. It wasn't necessarily even if their population was changing. It was the fact that that's where the funding was.
Yeah, and it's, and it just makes sense. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot of different needs within the LGBT community, but there's still a portion of us here in America that, require that funding and that need that funding. And I think it's one of those things where supporting your local LGBT charities goes, you can get as much support out of that as you can. In the 10 years that I've been HIV positive, I went from, kind of feeling like an outcast in the gay community, and then, kind of finding more and more acceptance as more and more people became educated.
What are some common misconceptions that you've heard from within the community?
Especially with online dating and things like that. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible time for everybody. We're all trying to do the best we can. I got really discouraged whenever I have a conversation with somebody and it seems to be going fine, and then all of a sudden I either bring up my HIV status or they notice it on a profile or something like that, and they're like, oh, you seem really nice, but we can never have sex. And I was like, really? Why is that? And I think it just comes from a lack of information and fear from that lack of information. Thankfully, that has kind of started to change a little bit in the last few years.
That's
as
awesome.
I think more and more people are starting to see people who are HIV positive as not dirty, they're not outcasts, they're not, the sort of dark, shadowy section of the LGBT community.
Right.
And we're just like normal people, and there's tons and tons of ways to keep both parties, in a sexual relationship healthy and safe and, sort of mentally healthy about, these issues.
Are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh my God, here we go.
Okay,
Let's do it.
What is the difference between HIV and AIDS?
Okay, so HIV is the human immunodeficiency virus. If left untreated, it can turn into AIDS. But they're different. They're two different things. Are you ready for the worst analogy in the world?
Okay, go for
But
it.
it's like the difference between an egg and an omelet.
Okay.
These are two very different things.
Yeah.
But you need an egg to make an omelet.
Gotcha. What is PrEP?
PrEP is a way of using HIV medication for people who don't have HIV. Oftentimes it's used for people who are in a relationship with somebody who is HIV positive to keep them safe. It's 1 pill a day, and it just kind of gives you that peace of mind. Again, not a medical provider. There are tons and tons and tons of resources online that will give you way more information, and honestly, the best way to find out more info is to talk to your doctor.
Definitely. Would you rather live in the universe of Game of Thrones or Jurassic Park?
Oh, definitely Jurassic Park.
Yeah?
Yeah, Game of Thrones is horrible.
Like, no, Jurassic Park, like you can't leave the park.
I think I could make that work.
Okay.
I could definitely make that work. When you're playing the Game of Thrones, nobody makes it out alive.
That's true. I mean, did you see the most recent Jurassic Park?
Oh yeah, of course.
It was like a bloodbath. There
Yeah.
were way more people died in that
Oh my
than I
God.
expected.
Every time I watch that movie, I'm like, death from the skies.
Best Spice Girl.
Ooh, Best Spice Girl. As much as I love Scary Spice, I do have a soft spot in my heart for Posh Spice. Just because my friend told me that when she was like 10 years old, somebody asked her what she wanted to be when she grows up. And she said, a brand.
What?
Right? And well, congratulations, you made it.
That's such a millennial thing to say, too. Wow, Posh Spice, the proto-millennial.
Like well ahead of the curve.
Final question, how could I get tested for HIV?
So HIV testing is actually really, really streamlined and easy these days. Go to your doctor or go to a community health center. There are even home HIV tests that you can get.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, so cool. How can people watching take action?
The basic information, aids.gov is a really good place to start and get cold hard facts. But then you kind of find cool stuff like Pause Magazine, which talks to a lot of people about their personal experiences. I found an organization where they're using poetry to combat HIV.
Awesome.
There's tons and tons of stuff out there. And the community, for the most part, is really welcoming and open because for a lot of us, we were there where, maybe you are, where you don't have all the information. A lot of people are definitely willing to share their stories and be like, hey, kid, it'll be all right. Here's a whole bunch of information. Don't freak out. You got this. Yeah.
That's so great. Anything else that you would like to say?
No, just thanks for having me on your lovely couch here today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me in my apartment. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you want to check out the rest of the Queerstory videos. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.